Hello, so I wanted to talk to you today about triads and why I think they should be taught first in jazz education and why I really like to play around with them, why I use them so much and all that kind of stuff. So I think we're taught from an early point that the basis of jazz harmony is seventh chords, and this kind of makes jazz special and different and unique. So for instance, the C major seventh chord, parents, the C major or C Lydian, chord scale, for instance. C minor seventh creates Dorian, the various dominant scales and so on and so forth. There's a couple of problems with that. The first is that it kind of creates a sort of conflict between the dominant and the major. And actually, the dominant and the major was pretty much interchangeable in a lot of earlier jazz because people would just play often just a sixth chord or a major triad without a seventh in. So that kind of separates it off in a way that I find quite unhelpful. And another thing that happens with this approach is that it's kind of ahistorical. I mean, I learnt this way, so I spent a long time learning to play it, like seventh arpeggios and everything like that, Kind of worked, but I mean, I didn't really. When I started drilling down into jazz properly, as opposed to just sort of playing a kind of version of it, I found that actually there's more triads than you'd expect. And this is both in comping, so like early jazz music, even if the melody's on a major seventh, which happens a lot with Louis Armstrong, the chord will still be F major, right? Because it sounds rubbish on a banjo to have major sevenths. Nobody does that in practice. So you have this kind of interesting kind of juxtaposition between the melody, which can often be sort of quite modern almost, or using extensions, and the actual accompanying harmony, which is very, very simple. And I think that dichotomy lasts right through swing, right up until bop, where, you listen to Charlie Parker play on, Blues for Alice, and it's going... So you get... Again, it's the same thing. That E happens on the F major. There's just playing an F major triad behind him on the record. Have a listen, see what you think. And you hear F6 chords, and, from Bud Powell and tenths and things, and not any real complex harmony of that kind in the accompaniment, but often the two hands together got more and more complicated during the 50s, and then eventually you have people like Bill Evans, and Barry Harris has his kind of own approach on it, which to me is not based on what Bud Powell did entirely, like his linear playing is, but his chordal playing is quite distinctively him. Anyway, I digress. And then after that sort of post-bop era, you get into, the kind of the fusion thing where you get the resurgence of the triad, all these kind of, these kind of, guitar-y chords as well, which often tend to be like major and minor, like Pat Metheny and people like that, obviously under the influence of pop and rock. So, Keith Jarrett as well, actually, on piano, uses a lot of this kind of very straightforward triadic harmony. I feel like that's a thing as well. Triads are really popular in like bebop lines. So, for instance, one example I always play is like Anthropology, which just outlines a B-flat triad, or you've got things like Groovin' High, for instance. That is just based on in this case, an A-flat minor triad. Sorry, A minor triad. So it's like, literally, that's the shape that we learn early on. That's a shape that we learn early on. It's an A shape. So there's a really nice guitaristic side to it as well. We can relate this to stuff we already know, We should know our triads up and down the neck, and that relates to other forms of music, because if I teach somebody to play, for instance, Dave Gilmour is often on the triads when he plays the solos, and it's a great way of creating, simple melody, just over chords that describe the chords but don't sound you know, quotes jazzy. So if I can play like, you know, you know, so it's just a simple thing. I'm not saying that's all that happens. You know, obviously Rick Beato will tell you that, you know, rock musicians use upper extensions all the time. But I find that basic understanding of like being able to hear where the triad notes are is a really important thing for any style of music, and it's no different for jazz. It's interesting. Like there is obviously some bebop is on the upper extensions, but quite a lot of it's on the 1-3-5. You know, quite a lot of it, and it's like it's interesting. I mean, if you're playing something which is very much based on the basic harmony, you know what I mean. You know. And then to play a ninth, it kind of stands out. You know, you hear that in Parker, right? You'll just stick a ninth in as a special effect or a sharp 11th. You know, so it'll be going, you know, I don't know. Probably wouldn't play exactly like that. I mean, that way it kind of creates an effect because you're hearing the funny note and going like, oh, that's coloristic, as opposed to if you just use it all the time, it rapidly starts to lose, for me, its effect. Okay? So, you know, as a result, I tend to advise all my students to get comfortable playing standards, you know, just in triads. So, for instance, Autumn Leaves or something could be... Sorry, let's not do any passing tones. Yeah. Now here I'd probably get them to play C minor and then D major. The passing tone there, right? So again, you know, there I'm extending it slightly by using passing tones. So you get the idea, right? So I mean, even though I'm not necessarily 100% using triads, that those are the basis of my lines which create that outlining of the harmony. And obviously one area of jazz guitar where this is still very popular to do is gypsy jazz, but I've heard Lake Lundu's exercise, you know, with all this kind of, you know, kind of leaping around that he does. You know, it's a kind of a... Sorry, I can't do the diminished. You know, it's kind of more his style, I guess, you know, hopefully. More kind of jumping around and just getting used to where all the notes are. Because you don't want to just be playing, you know, straight up and down like this. Maybe when he's starting off. And that sort of dovetails quite nicely with the tetrachord technique as well, which has a 2 in it as well. So it's like kind of like a 4-note quadrad, if you like. You know, you've got like... Sorry. That's what I was looking for. There's a nice little extra bit of fun to play around with. And of course, if we go from there, then we can start to layer things up. We can start to put, for instance, acknowledge that 7th chords, for instance, C minor 7th is basically, you know, a C bass with a F major triad over top of it. And certainly, I think that's why the F major triad being on top of that is why I don't really like the sound of that chord as a tonic minor. It just sounds too major to me. So anyway, and we do an altered chord. So let's do a tritone substitute on this F, which will be, of course, B7. But we'll do B major. And then we resolve to, I suppose, we could resolve to B flat major, but let's keep on the 3rd. So we're going to do D minor on B flat because that's a B flat major 7th. So we're going to go at this. that shape, right? Okay, B, G minor on E flat, C minor again. Let's do another tritone sub here. So we're going to do, and on this we could do, I don't know, for instance we could take the, let's take the what I'm talking about, the B flat augmented triad. To give you the G minor major 7th sound. So you get this. And then okay, so I mean, I'm just using a couple of Jordan Clemens ideas in there as well, I suppose. You would say that he got his ideas from Stephen Harris, which is just taking try about adding an extra note in as well. I know this is something that Lage Lund does a lot. For instance, you know, he'll play, if he's doing a B on a 7, he'd play like. That's a B triad with a sharp 4 in it. And then maybe for like a minor 7th sound, I'll add the 4th in. It's almost pentatonic. You know, it kind of gets a little bit of that Lage Lundi sort of sound. Lage Lundi, that should be an adjective. And then I like this one. With either a flat with a natural 6th on it or a natural 2. There's a few options for playing D7. If we go back to our tritone option, that's A flat. You know, it's a nice sound. So that's like going up to the 5th now. I'm putting a D major, G minor, which is again quite traditional bebop. That's a bit of Barry Harris ending, you know, where we go. We play that D major arpeggio triad going up to the 9th of the G, creating that sort of G minor 9th kind of tonality. Probably it's actually done, isn't it, with the major 7th. So you know that's you know that's kind of great, and you know you can do the same thing with a major chord. You can play, like if I'm playing C major. Sounds kind of more modern to me to do that. And of course you've got all the options for the dominants. This relates to things like triad pairs, but you can see that we've gone quite a long way without really getting into 7th chords at all. I mean, obviously you can play 7th chords and larger. For instance, you know, if I'm playing, again on that example of Autumn Leaves, if I play... But the thing about, so, you know, larger than 7th chords, for instance, I played that kind of, you know, sort of extended, you know, I mean, first thing is that they don't tend to invert very well. So you rarely see inversions of 7th chords and bigger in bebop. It doesn't really seem to be a thing. Then I do a bigger arpeggio like that. It's usually in root position. You know, they sound great. You know, there's nothing wrong with them. I find like with seventh chords with like the major and minor seventh. That I tend to hear as a C major triad going up and a was it C major going up and a E minor going down. Excuse me, the cats are at it again. Like that, right? Right for the minor major seventh. It feels like a C minor going up and a you know, C augmented. Was it B augmented or something? Coming down, you know, like this. You know, so that's quite interesting. Like I don't even hear seventh chords now as being seventh chords, but I think like there's such a powerful. You know. So I was using kind of mixed approach there, a few triads, a few seventh chords and things, and yeah, I just think it's a really good thing to practice. Anyway, thanks for watching.